the Martinsyde S.1. In the weeks preceding the outbreak of war, it became known that the Martinsyde Company were building a single-seat biplane of the small, fast scouting type. Doubtless, the firm had been inspired by the success of the Sopwith Tabloid and Bristol Scout. The first Martinsyde Scout was delivered to the Royal Aircraft Factory at Farnborough for the use of the RFC in October 1914. It was a clean little single-bay biplane, powered by an 80-horsepower Gnome rotary, its appearance spoiled only by the sturdy but clumsy four-wheel undercarriage. The design of the engine installation was similar to that of the Sopwith Tabloid, but the tail unit was characteristically Martinsyde. In construction, the Martinsyde Scout was typical of its period, but incorporated some design details that became characteristic of later Martinsyde aircraft designed by A. Fletcher. The wooden airframe was wire-braced and fabric-covered. The fuselage was covered with plywood between the cockpit and the engine cowling. H.P. Martin was so certain that the RFC would require high-speed scouts that he immediately planned for the production of 50 aircraft without waiting for an official contract. His confidence was justified, for several small batches of Gnome-powered Martinsydes, totaling over 60 aircraft, were ordered. The type was designated Martinsyde S.1. Deliveries were made throughout 1915 until October, when production ceased. The earliest production S1s resembled the prototype. Later aircraft had the cockpit cut lower at the sides. And finally, a neat but narrow V-type undercarriage replaced the original four-wheel affair. Some late S1s also had a revised tailplane with a straight leading edge. The Martinsyde S1 saw little service with the RFC. Only 6 went to France, where squadrons 1, 4, 5, 6, and 16 each had 1 or at most 2 of the type. Although a robust airplane, the Martinsyde S1 was not so pleasant to fly as its Bristol and Sopwith contemporaries. The lateral control provided by its small ailerons was poor, and its performance both in speed and climb was unspectacular. Although withdrawn from RFC units in France in the summer of 1915, the Martinsyde S1 was apparently considered good enough for service in Mesopotamia, where 4 were sent in August 1915. The heat and dust reduced their performance further, yet they made some useful flights in the hands of No. 30 Squadron, RFC. By November 1915, they were all out of action. At aerodromes in the United Kingdom, the Martinsyde S1 was used on a limited scale for training purposes, and some were regarded as anti-airship aircraft, based at such aerodromes as Farnborough, Brooklands, Hounslow, Dover, Joyce Green, Northolt, and Shoreham. The chances of any S1, loaded with its full specified complement of 6 bombs, 12 Hales grenades, 150 incendiary darts, and 5 powder bombs, being able to bring a Zeppelin to action were negligible, and no such engagement ever occurred. A few specimens of the type survived until the spring of 1916, but the S1 then disappeared, to be outlived by its more distinguished predecessor, the Bristol Scout. Okay, I couldn't let this one go without talking about Louis Arbon Strange, DSO, OBE, MC, DFC, and BAR. And I'm going to just read this right out of the Wikipedia. While with No. 6 Squadron, Strange was a compatriot of Captain Leno Hawker. The squadron became pioneers of many aspects in the military aviation at the time, driven largely by the imagination of Strange and the engineering talents of Hawker. Their talents led to various mountings for Lewis machine guns, one of which won Hawker the Victoria Cross, and one that nearly cost Strange his life. Having equipped his Martinsyde S.1 Scout with a Lewis gun mounted on the top wing above the cockpit, on the 10th of May, 1915, Strange sought out the enemy to try out this new arrangement and attacked a German aviatic two-seater. In order to change the empty drum on the Lewis, Strange had to stand up in the cockpit. Immediately, the machine flipped on its back, throwing Strange from the cockpit and developing a flat spin downwards. The drum suddenly jammed. Strange gave a heave, and the control column slid forward from between his knees. Immediately, the machine turned on its back. In the same split moment, the seatbelt snapped. Strange was flung out of the cockpit. Strange later related, "I kept on kicking upwards, behind me, until at last I got one foot and then the other hooked inside the cockpit. Somehow I got the stick between my legs again, and jammed on full aileron and elevator. I do not know exactly what happened then, but the trick was done. The machine came over the right way up, and I fell off the top of the plane and into my seat with a bump." He safely returned to base, but was criticized by his CO for causing unnecessary damage to his instrument panel and the seat in his efforts to regain the cockpit.